Hey friends, how much does it cost to buy a house? Today we are going to talk about one of the expenses associated with home buying, and that's the due diligence deposit. What is the due diligence deposit? What is due diligence? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about why the due diligence deposit is non-refundable, and we're going to talk about how it can be used to negotiate your offer. So stick around, we're going to be talking about it now. So how much does it cost to buy a house? There are lots of expenses that go along with purchasing a home. One of them is the due diligence deposit. The due diligence deposit in the state of North Carolina, it's part of the contract, and it's a deposit that is used to buy you the right to inspect the property, okay? It is a non-refundable deposit. A lot of times buyers have a really hard time with that because, so what happens if you find during your inspections some major expense, termite damage that's gonna cost you $50,000 to repair? It can be a lot of money, right? So why is the buyer responsible for paying that deposit and it being non-refundable if what happens is not their fault? So this is how it came about. Back before the market crashed in 2008, real estate prices were really good. Prices were high. It was, again, a seller's market like it is now. In 2008, a lot of that went away. The job market crashed and people stopped buying homes. So what was going on at that time, there were so many buyers out there, so many sellers out there and so few buyers out there that buyers would put an offer on more than one property at a time, and then they would, kind of hedge their bets as which one was going to be best for them. And it was really kind of unfair to the sellers. And so, the Association of Realtors decided to change the contract, and they added a line in there for the due diligence deposit. And that was basically a way for the buyers to have some skin in the game, to actually, be out something if they decided to terminate. So they weren't putting offers on homes that they weren't really serious about buying. So it was really just a way of leveling the playing field. So as time went on and the market shifted again back from a buyer's market to a seller's market, those, as some of you may know, those due diligence deposits have kind of gotten a little out of control. I've seen them as high as $25,000. That's a lot of money to risk when purchasing a home. What you're saying when you put down the deposit is, I'm not going to walk away. So, even if there's some major expense that I discover during my inspections, I'm not going to walk away. I want this house that much. Why would anybody do that? Well, one really good reason is multiple offers. And you start to see these crazy due diligence deposits when somebody has made an offer on many different properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, and none of their offers have been accepted because there were so many other competing offers. So they want to communicate to that seller that whatever happens, if I find something in the inspection, I'm willing to live with it, to fix it myself if I need to. I want this house. And so sellers look at it and they say, okay, this person's really serious. I don't have to worry about them terminating the contract and it going back on the market. So they would take, they would look at an offer with a high due diligence deposit as a really, really good offer. But you really have to kind of think about what kind of market you're offering in. So even in our, most competitive areas, not every house is incredibly competitive. So for example, in certain price points, like even now, price points over the 600,000s or so are not seeing as much competition as they were a year ago. In the 300,000s, we still have lots of competition. So it really depends, and it depends on your location. It depends on so many different things. So whenever I go to make an offer on behalf of a client, I always pull the most recent comps to see how much how many of the properties are making have gotten offers over list price. That tells us something. Usually people are only willing to make an offer over list price if it's competitive offers. So we know, like, okay, in the past 30 days, there's still been competitive offers out there, because we can't really tell what other offers are on the table, and the realtor may or may not tell us based on whether or not the seller wants us to know. It's the seller's decision whether or not they want to disclose that there are competing offers. So we may not know if there are competing offers. So we just have to kind of use a little bit of strategy to kind of sleuth that stuff out. So that is how we can use a due diligence deposit to negotiate a really good offer in a competitive market. Thanks y'all for listening. Meet us back here next week for another video about the real estate market.